Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On this episode, we are finally welding up this manifold. So we started this manifold a couple of months back, just putting together the collector, and I spent quite a bit of time tacking everything together and getting everything measured up. So finally I have a day free where I've got the manifold out of the car and we get to put it together. And in that time, I've had quite a bit of a play with my new AIG TIG welder, and I'm finally confident enough I can lay down some TIG welds. So they're still not going to be of professional quality, but it's at a standard where I can accept doing it for myself. So I've experimented with a few different fittings for the TIG torch. So you can see I've got a glass cup on it. See if this will focus. There we go, now it's focused. So I've been experimenting with standard consumables, and then I ordered a kit off eBay. So it's labeled as a Pyrex gas lens, but I don't really know the whole story behind them. I just know with this cup and this setup, it welds a lot nicer. So that's what I'm gone with. I need everything I can use to make my welds look better than they otherwise would be. Another note, I don't know if I've mentioned in one of the other videos, but I finally have a welding table. So it's nothing fancy, it's just a metal frame, just used as scraps I had behind the bench, behind the shed, sorry. I've got this angle iron at the front, so I can lay two pieces of tube, clamp them down, and tack them up so they're dead level. I've also got this 5mm plate steel. It's just what the local metal shop had, and I just put it all together. I've also moved my vise over here. I've just got some angle iron welded to the side of it, and that's nice and solid there. So it was on the corner of the bench, and that was pretty inconvenient. So these are the kits I got off eBay. So I got a number of different cups, lenses, whatever you want to call them, in two different kits. So these are from two different sellers, but looking at these diffusers, they look pretty similar. Whereas the internal collet, they look a little different. So both the collets seem to work fine. I can't really notice any usable difference. And they both have the same O-ring style, whereas these O-rings look a bit more glossy than that. So these O-rings just look a little nicer. But this has the pink ceramic lenses, where that does not. So if I decide I don't like the glass style that slips over the O-rings, I can thread one of these on and keep going. Yeah, so looking at the manifold, we have it bolted down the bench. So I'm doing that, trying to hope it takes some of the distortion out of the flange as we're welding. So ideally I would have wanted a thicker plate, but I don't have any. But this plate is also welded to this bit of steel underneath, so that gives it extra support. Hopefully sucks some of the excess heat out of the manifold as I'm going. So the trickiest thing here is trying to not weld myself into a corner. So I have to weld in a way where I can weld as much as I can without getting stuck and not getting access with a welder. So I'm going to get all these easy ones first and go as far as I can, probably leave these ones right next to the collector to last. Because worst case, if I cannot get inside some of these other joins, I'm going to cut these tacks off at the flange and the collector, pull them off and fully weld it out and put it back. But I'm going to get as much weld as I can on it before I do that, just to help prevent any distortion. Because just because it comes off that way doesn't mean it's going to go back in that way. So that's the plan. It may not work, and I'll probably change it somewhere along the line. So that's enough talking. I'll get straight into welding. I'm going to put you onto the GoPro. I'm going to try to put a bit of a lens over top of the GoPro so we can try to get some arc shots. No experience with that, so I'll do my best and see if I can get any good welding footage for you. Alright, so we've been welding for quite some time now. We've made quite a bit of progress. Now the next stage, I'm going to have to cut at least one runner off, maybe a second. So I'm going to start with the easiest runner to cut off, and we'll have a look of what we expose. So you can see we've done quite a bit of welding. So there's a lot of joins to put together. I still haven't welded up any of these collector points. So this is the first runner I'm going to be removing. I'm just going to cut these tacks off, and there's a couple tacks underneath there. And once that is off, I'm going to be free to finish welding out all these points I can't reach. As you can see, these two runners are way too close together. And once this runner is off, it's going to free up all these different spots. I should be able to completely weld out these two inner runner collectors to inner runners to the collector, so they will be able to be completely fully welded. So this one here, I may take that off as well. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have to take it off to get to this weld here, but after this is cut off, I'll reassess where we're at. As you can see, I've got the runner off, and it exposes a lot more of the joints I haven't been able to reach. So without that runner, we could just about fully weld all these other sections. So depending if I can fully get these welds here, we'll decide whether or not I remove that runner as well. So I'm going to dig back into this and weld up as much as I can here. While I have the runner off, I can also fully weld out all these joins here. So I'll stick that in the vise and weld that up. Alright, so we're making some good progress. So after cutting off the two end runners, we have completely welded up all the joins. So the middle two are completely welded around the flange and completely welded to the collector. So all these outer runners have been completely welded while they were disconnected. So now all we're going to do is attach them back into place and fully weld out. So the biggest issue with these is trying to fully weld out these fully welded out at the collector. So that one being the trickier one, I'm going to tack that in place and fully weld out the collector before I start mounting that one in place. So now the theory is once this runner is attached on the outside, I should be able to squeeze through this gap and weld the inside there. So not 100% sure if I'm going to have full access. Worst case, I'm going to fire up the old MIG welder and put the nozzle in and burn some MIG weld on the inside just to close it up if I can't reach with the TIG. That's the plan. I'm going to get back to work.
Alright guys, so I got a little bit distracted making this video. It's taken a lot longer to get this video out about this exhaust manifold here. So ended up going for a trip over to Tasmania. I was there for a few weeks, so it's definitely slowed down getting some videos out. But I'm back in the shed, and this manifold is fully welded together. It's completely welded up. The last thing that we need to do is weld on our V-band on the end of it. So I'll show you what we're working with. So everything's completely welded out all the way around. All the flanges are welded. And this is the last piece to the puzzle. So what I've done, I've got my torch there, gave this the heat treatment, and been smack it with a hammer, trying to get it closer to round, trying to close up some of these gaps here. So these gaps aren't the worst. It will actually allow me to get a lot more penetration into the flange without having to wind the amps up too far. So I'll tack that in place there, and then I'll fully weld it around. So one thing we need to remember, that this is stainless. I'm not 100% sure what type. I'm assuming 304 or something like that. It's just an eBay V-band flange. And this is mild steel. So using the same mild steel filler rod that we have on the floor there, if we were to weld that in place, yes, it would work, but it will crack. The weld will eventually crack off the stainless. So to actually weld reliably the stainless to the mild steel, I've got myself a stainless 309L filler wire. So the 309 is a special filler wire designed to put dissimilar metals together. So that is purpose built for this exact job. So that's the filler wire we'll be using. Alright, so this thing is completely finished. So you can see the weld down here, it looks quite a bit different to all the other welds. That's because that is 309 filler. So you can see that inside we've got some nice colours going on. And that being a stainless steel, so it colours a lot different than our regular mild steel. So definitely not a professional finish this manifold, but for my own project and getting here myself without having to get someone else to help me, I'm quite happy with this end result. So we've still got to fit this back in the car just to make sure everything hasn't moved too far and that this is still going to fit up and work properly. So fingers crossed, there's nothing wrong there. And once this is back on and that's all good, we can start looking at the other side and mount the turbo in place. So doing these tubular manifolds, definitely a much bigger task than I was initially expecting. That's all right, we've got through it. Now this one, completely finished, ready to go back on the car. So I'm very happy with that, and we'll see you next time on Sam's Project Bench. Bye.